Hi, Kia ora listeners. Let's Learn Sumo. I'm Clayton. Welcome to the podcast. Don't forget to join me on X or Instagram at Let's Learn Sumo. Also, this podcast is restreamed in audio on YouTube. Don't forget to join me on YouTube. I'll have a few more video episodes coming in future. Well, we are at the end of the January basho. It seems February is the month to air dirty laundry in the sumo world. After last year's events, which led to the sudden retirement of Hokuseiho, the sumo world has been on a bit of tenterhooks waiting for the next scandal to drop. They do happen a little bit in a world of combat sports, young men living and training in close quarters, competitive spirit, and certainly a culture of hierarchical dominance. It's no surprise when stories come out of sumo wrestlers perhaps abusing their authority or abusing one another in certain violent ways. Megashira wrestlers use their junior stablemates as assistants to help them in tournaments to get ready. And they're also expected to help their seniors at the stable, and they are given all the jobs around the stable like cooking and cleaning. In return, sumo wrestlers share their prize money with the junior tsukibito, as they're called, and they help them at training and sometimes socialise with them and things like that. So it appears that Tobizaru, Megashira wrestler, has had some complaints about the way he treats his tsukibitos, so much so that the JSA have actually investigated the allegations recently. Due to Japan's very strict defamation laws, their mass media is very wary about publishing these sort of rumours, mainly due to, one of his fellow stablemates appearing unusual in January. So Satsumasho appeared to have some very patchy hair, which was put down to a stress-related condition. And a tabloid this week in Japan published stories around the Tobizaru allegations. They include that the wrestler's stress-related condition was related to the way that Tobizaru had been treating him as a tsukibito. Added to that Tobizaru has had 4 different tsukibitos due to his domineering personality. Now, he's been at Magashira for a little while, and he's been floating around the upper Magashira Komusubi ranks for a little while, so it's not entirely unreasonable that he'd have multiple tsukibitos the longer he's there. His popularity is certainly evident amongst the crowd in every tournament, and so unfortunately, being a popular wrestler, the story has taken a bit of traction. Look, I think there is a clear difference to these allegations to the Hokuseiho allegations of last year. So what are the allegations? Well, they are that he's forced his junior wrestler who just returned from injury to undergo Butsukari Gecko training for almost 30 minutes, which normally it's only done for a short period of time. But Tobizaru apparently forced him to train until exhaustion and apparently kicked him while he was on the ground. Also that Tobizaru is very stingy with his tsukibitos in sharing prize money, withholds it sometimes if he feels like they haven't done a good job, and that he's so stingy that instead of going out to dinner, he invites women to his home and makes his tsukibitos cook for him. Now, the rumours also claim that he's rude and insulting and yells insults for minor mistakes. And in totality, if they're all rude, they don't really amount to a massive amount. They roll into a person who's perhaps using his position as a senior or senpai perhaps a bit too much, a person who might be a bit stingy with his money, a person who might even be a bit rude and insulting. Certainly someone who trains very hard to get to the top level of wrestling and expects his stablemates to do so. So they're, even at their full extent, they're very different to the Hokuseiho allegations, which were included things like using weapons against his stablemates, burning them, some fairly nasty violence, theft, and some fairly serious abuse along the way. So apparently the JSA Compliance Committee investigated the allegations recently, and no one is commenting. His Oyakata certainly hasn't said anything. The other stable mates, and certainly Tobizaru, was confronted on the way to his stable and refused to say anything. So we haven't really seen any outcomes or whether any of the allegations are over-exaggerated or another example of a rikishi who abuses their position. And we'll just have to wait and see. Certainly, whilst not defending Tobizaru, I've seen some people in the industry indicate that perhaps there's a little bit of over-exaggeration for some of the things that even have been reported. So on the Tobizaru thing, we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out, and perhaps he may even just get a warning that perhaps he needs to be a little bit less domineering to his Tsukibitos. On the Hokuseiho Miyagino stable issue, it's alleged that the wrestlers who were forced from Hakuho's old Miyagino stable into Isegahama stable and were folded into there, some of the Rikishi have been treated quite poorly. As a result, some have retired, and some continue living a particularly difficult life after the move to Isegahama. So they're not allowed interviews, they're not allowed to socialise outside, they're not allowed to use any sort of promotion. They are living in the basement on the other building to the Isegahama stables, and generally being fairly poorly treated by the Isegahama Oyakata. There's certainly a lot of rumours abound about that situation. Hopefully, now with the retirement of the Isegahama Oyakata, the JSA will consider allowing Hakuho to reform his Miyagino stable. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Certainly there'll need to be some moves now that Terunofuji has retired as a Yokozuna. Oyakata Isegahama is turning 65 shortly and will retire before the July tournament, at which point Terunofuji will take over. So I would expect some sort of move in that area. It was interesting to see that Hokuseiho popped up during 2024. Back around September, he turned up at the stable of the Waka brothers quite unexpectedly, and there was even a photo of him going in there. So, but no real indication of what was going on or whether it was just a social visit. So that's the rumours going on in the sumo world at the moment about the Tobizaru thing. Hopefully it doesn't amount to much. Certainly it's a little bit different to Hokuseiho, and we'll just have to wait and see. So join me again. We'll coming up to Bunske time for the March tournament, and I'll come up back with another episode on that. Hakioi listeners, let's learn sumo.